Do you have a medical question that's just too embarrassing for your personal physician? Dr. Marie Savard from Good Morning America will answer any questions you have right now on It's Your Call. You know how it is. You have this problem, this issue, this itch, this thing, and you want to know if it's serious or dangerous, but you're just too embarrassed or even scared to ask your doctor. So what do? You ask Dr. Marie Savard, who says no question is out of line. Hello, everyone. It's good to have you with us. I'm Lynn Doyle, and I'm sure if you're like me, there's been a time or two that you've had a medical question that just makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Well, if that's the case, there's a new book you might want to get. It's called Ask Dr. Marie, Straight Talk and Reassuring Answers to Your Most Private Questions. And it's written by Dr. Marie Savard, an ABC News medical contributor that appears regularly on Good Morning America. Ask Dr. Marie is her third book. So good to have you back on the show.
Thanks, Lynn. It's always great to be here. Thanks.
Why do you think it is that we have such an issue having a straight conversation with our doctors? What is it with us?
You know, think of the last time you were at the visit at the gynecologist. You're sitting there with that gown open in the front, totally exposed for the most part, sitting on the table. You're vulnerable. And I think women get to the doctor's office and they lose their voice. Suddenly they forget. What were those important questions? The doctor's racing in and out. So I think it's a matter of we don't really have time, we don't feel comfortable, and we think our doctors are just too busy and maybe we're not important enough.
But we're paying them to treat us and to advise us. So how do we overcome that? How do we empower ourselves when we are in the doctor's office and get the answers that we need?
Yeah, I'm asked this all the time. I do think this is one time we have to kind of be organized. We have to put our sort of organized cap on and say to ourselves, let's go prepared. Sit down ahead of time, jot down what those three most important questions are. And if it is pain with sex, that's something that came up so often. In fact, I've been speaking about that women in their 50s and 60s who suddenly are out there thinking about, can I have sex again? They're afraid to talk to their doctors because they think it's not something the doctors are going to talk to them about. So write it down. Don't be embarrassed. That's what I say. Your doctor has heard it all. He or she knows exactly what's going on. And I think the more you give them information up front, they're going to help you. And if they can't, they're going to smile and they're going to try to find the answers in some way.
Well, you know, you just said something very interesting. You said he or she. Do you find that women in particular feel more comfortable talking to a female doctor because we think for whatever reason you could probably associate with what I'm talking about better than a male?
I think today that's the case. I remember when I first started practicing in the 1980s, believe it or not, that I'm that old, that actually women didn't want another woman doctor, especially to do an exam down there. I remember they were uncomfortable with that. Then I would do it because I was with a male partner and he was more uncomfortable. So I would do it. I would do that pap test, and afterwards the woman would say to me, oh, this was so much better. I wasn't as embarrassed. I'm not as afraid to ask questions. So I think what's great is that today women are really comfortable, whoever their physician might be. And I think men have they've been used to taking care of women for such a long time. But for women, I think it's exciting that women can ask for a woman and have a choice.
Well, of course, if you do have a choice, that's great. And we always encourage you to talk to your doctor if you have questions. But if you find yourself, you know, someone who just can't do it, you can't bring yourself to ask those questions, or you're just too embarrassed when you get there, whatever the cause, that's why I suggest people get this book, because I'll tell you, folks, she covers just about everything in here. When you say that they've heard it all, she has heard it all, and she has answered pretty much every embarrassing question. How did you compile those specific questions for this book?
Well, first of all, I experienced a lot of it. And as I say in the introduction, and I hope my husband's not listening right now, because I really, as a woman who not only went through puberty and all the childbearing and had 3 children, but I've actually gone through menopause as well. And so I'm experiencing firsthand a lot of the things that I talk about. And then I was lucky enough to have a practice through the years where women, I don't know, I just always took the time to listen, and I just heard unbelievable questions. And then I guess in the work that I do now, people email you. You just wouldn't believe the questions that women are willing, and men for that matter, to email. They don't even know who I am, and they're asking me these amazing questions.